In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to use distortion in your ambient guitar music to create big growling chord swells like this. Or to create vintage synth-like tones that are for your leads like this. So I'm going to show you how to craft both of these tones. So let's dive in. For the first tone, for the big growling chord swells, we're going to need a distortion pedal, delay, and reverb. So let's start with the distortion pedal. I really want to have some aggressive settings on it to get a big growl, because if I have a low amount of gain more on the overdrive territory, it's not going to be enough. It's going to be too subtle. So on my distortion pedal right now, the gain knob is at about like 10 o'clock. So it's going to give me... So it's not going to be enough. So what I'm going to do is to put the maximum amount of gain I can possibly have. And I'm going to lower the level knob because that's going to be way too loud if I do. So now it sounds like this. Yeah, so that's a real big rock tone, stadium rock tone. And what I do, and that I didn't mention, is often I'm gonna roll off the mids a little bit, right? So just to clean it up, if I have more mids, it's gonna be very, very dense. So I want to clean it up a little bit by rolling off the mids. You can even roll off the highs if that sounds too aggressive to the ear. And if you don't have EQ controls on your distortion pedal, you can always use your tone knob on your guitar, right? So I could even put the tone knob at half, for example. And that helps to tame some of those aggressive highs if you need to, right? So for now, I'm going to remove it. The second element is to drown it in reverb, right? Because it's going to be super aggressive, so I want to tame it by a big amount of reverb so that it sounds big. So I'm going to use a plate-style reverb with very, very long decays, about like 7 or 8 seconds or even more if you can, and very high mix. So the mix knob is at about 2 o'clock, close to 3, like really big amount of mix. So alone, it's gonna sound like this. Right? So it resonates very long and it's very present, right? And the last element is I'm going to add some delays, right? Because it's going to make the chord swell sound longer in time. So in my case, I'm using the Strymon El Capistan. All is to taste when it comes to tone and modulation, but I'm generally putting the repeats knob and the mix knob at about 2 o'clock. It gives me a generous amount of delay like this. Right? So it's such that when I use a volume pedal or the volume knob on my guitar and I swell, I get a long resonance for it. I get a long feedback from the delays. Right? So now when we combine the delays and the reverb and the aggressive distortion and we use the chord swell, that's what we'll get. Very very aggressive, and you can really play on the volume pedal, right? You can pull it back up if you want a little bit less gain to pass through, or you can leave it down if you want a big resonance on the low end. And if that's too aggressive for you, like I said, you can use your tone knob. So even if I put it at 0, it's still going to be a nice aggressive sound like this. And if I put it at about the middle, like at 5 or something, it's gonna sound like this. Right? Over the top, but that's what I like to do, like you heard in my song, right? I use it for a big contrast, like a big surprise in my song, because I'm playing clean tones so many times that when I use those aggressive, distorted chord swells, it's like, wow, I've never heard this before in your music, right? So from time to time, it's great to cause a surprise. And the second way I'm using it is to create kind of vintage synth-like leads, like you've heard in the song in the beginning also. So for this, I'm going to use the same distortion settings. I'm going to back off on the mix a little bit on the reverb, because since it's a lead and I'm going to play melodies a little bit, I don't need the reverb to be as present in the mix. Right, so the mix is more like at noon on the reverb, and I don't even need to add delay, so I'm going to remove this one. So the only thing I'm going to add for the vintage aesthetic is to use a vibrato modulation effect, right? So on my Strymon Ola right now, I have a vibrato mode instead of chorus, and what I'm going to do is to go all in once again. I'm going to go full depth, maximum mix, and I'm gonna do slow speed, right? Because you want something that's gonna be slow. If it's too fast, wow, 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 it's gonna be a totally different effect. So you want something that's gonna make it wobble a little bit. So that's my dry signal without the vibrato. And now I'm adding it. So you heard at the end, it's really going to give it this vintage aesthetic, and it's going to sound super great with the distortion with it, right? So I'm going to add the distortion, I'm going to add the reverb, and then I can kind of play leads with that. Right, so if I remove the vibrato, it's gonna sound like just regular distortion. But with the vibrato, it's like totally different aesthetic. So I love it, so I used it in one of my songs to create the little leads like this. So I hope it's gonna give you nice things to try. If you're new to ambient guitar and you don't know what to get as far as the delay, the looper, the volume pedal, the reverb pedals, I want to help you. I have a free guide that you can get, first link in the description box. It's called my ambient guitar gear guide for any budget. So I've been playing ambient guitar music for 10 plus years, and I tried so many pedals and effects over the years. So if you want my trusted recommendations, it's all in this guide for any budget. I even have some free options as plugins to recommend, some low priced pedals and some higher priced if you have the budget. to get the best sounds possible for your ambient guitar project. So once again, it's the first link in the description box. It's my gift to you for watching my video until the end. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, au revoir.